Boys, it's set in a 5-bedroom flat in Edinburgh, and it follows 24 hours with 4 of the people that live in that flat. It follows each character as they struggle with things that are personal to them about what enables them to leave that section of their life. And all of them are struggling with something that seems unmentionable, that would allow them to leave the flat. And so it's an evening, a sort of a 24 hours where the atmosphere slowly builds and becomes more claustrophobic as these boys struggle with stepping into the real world.
The play's called Educating Ronnie, and it's a kind of semi-autobiographical little piece about the guy that I met in Uganda on a gap year when I was 18 years old, and our ongoing relationship in the 10 years since. It tells the story of Ronnie. We kind of bonded very closely when I was on holiday there, and then coming back he sent me a text message and said, can you help me out with some money for my school fees? And thought about it, and I thought, yeah, actually I can. And so it's about that, and that's the kind of stimulus for the story.
Clockwork is about 2 old mates from my generation who have to say their goodbyes as one of them's leaving the care home that they've both moved into in their old age. And through reminiscing about their youth, which they mostly spent getting really wasted at this dingy club and fighting over the same girl, they realise that some of their memories aren't quite as real as they might have thought.
I think being able to write plays as a mode of storytelling is probably one of the most exciting things, because you have people for such a defined period of time. They come to the theatre, you have them for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that's something they've elected, they've made the decision to believe in what you're going to say. And I think that tiny window of the impulse to believe is very special.
Mudlarks is about 3 boys from Essex, Jake, Wayne and Charlie, who have done something very bad. They are 16, they've just finished their GCSEs. They're on the run, they land on the beach in Grays, Essex, and the play starts. We follow their night on there till dawn and discover their friendships and the breakdown of what has been a life of growing up together. Forced together, but now forced apart.
It's important to me on a personal level because I feel like I have to tell this story. I feel like I have to kind of get this off my chest. I have to just get this one out there. But also I think hopefully on a kind of artistic level, in terms of like a wider political context for it, I think it does touch on issues which are very current at the moment. People are thinking about what is the value of money. People are thinking about evaluating that against kind of other experiences and life at large, and kind of they're asking big questions. What is it all about? And hopefully, I think through this little story, it kind of touches on kind of slightly bigger questions.
The thought of living to 100 is terrifying, and I kind of hope that when I'm that age there will be the opportunity of a euthanasia clinic to just not not in a dark depressing way, but just like if you feel you've lived your life and that's it, then not having to just sort of slowly die in a chair.
The adventure, I suppose, is inspired by all of those children's adventure stories that I personally loved when I was young, and that has informed the form of the piece, so that a young audience will be brought into an exciting, real space, and then led by the actors into a story.
We became increasingly excited as we were programming the festival this year by an opportunity to produce a new play in a different way for our audiences. And also an opportunity to work with one of the most exciting sound artists and writers, John McLeod, on a new play called Organs of Little Apparent Importance. The play itself will be designed and written for headphones, which will be worn by individual audience members as they walk around the town of Halesworth, which is where the HighTide Festival takes place. The play is inspired by Charles Darwin's Origin of Species in the one part, and will also feature contributions from students at Halesworth Middle School who are really excited to be working with.
I go to see loads of new writing in London and I love it, and it's just not happening in Essex. I don't go out to the theatre in Essex. I want my work to inspire those kinds of people to see how satisfying it is to watch new writing and why it's so important. New writers often show the world in a new way, and that really excites me, and I'd really like to enrich that kind of creative side of Essex that for lots of people is non-existent.
You cannot tell the history of computing without talking about Steve Jobs. In fact, I would argue you almost don't need to talk about anyone else. I do think, however, we have taken our eye off of the circumstances under which the things are made. In the pursuit of these very high ideals of beautiful devices that are so marvelous, we've lost touch with early ideals about humanism, about respect, about the idea that we should not abuse the people who make the work possible.
We're really excited to be welcoming Curious Directive to the HighTide Festival this year. They are a truly exciting devising company who are bringing their new project, Binary, to the festival. Binary is an opportunity for Curious Directive to open up collaboration between playwrights and with scientists, and through the work, 2 new short plays will be premiered at the HighTide Festival. This allows us to support another emerging theatre company from the east of England and help them realise a truly exciting new work, as well as opening up conversation about collaboration between scientists and playwrights.
Seizing Cinderella is the story of a man trying to come to terms with the death of his 26-year-old daughter. It's based on the true story of a man I met a couple of years ago called Ross Sheridan, whose daughter Karen died of a condition called SUDEP, sudden unexplained death in epilepsy, which was essentially a fatal epileptic seizure in the night. After 12 years of having epilepsy but not really receiving any meaningful treatment or care from the health service at the time. So it's an examination really of what went so wrong in her life and of him trying to make amends for that.
Part of this work in progress is to really see what works and what doesn't with an audience. How an audience is a very unpredictable thing, particularly of young people, because their sense of theatrical and social conventions aren't entirely rock solid yet, which is a great thing. So they could go crazy. Who knows? The best way to make this work is to do it and keep doing it, and then eventually mould it and shape it.
I stood forward. It's going to be up at Latitude in Suffolk. The play itself is revolving around a family coming together for the last time to have their own sort of traditional Eisteddfod fall, which they have every year. You know, it's about the stories they tell and the story of their own sort of family complexities that come with, families getting together that don't usually, and that's the story.
The Rifle plays will take place on the festival weekends. It's part of the collaboration that HighTide have going on with Public Theatre's Emerging Writers Group from New York. There's 4 plays, each one will have a performance on one of the weekend days. I'll be directing one of them, which is The Hour of Feeling by Mona Mansour.
And I'm going to be directing Neighbours by Brandon Jacobs-Jenkins. There'll be 2 other new plays as well, one of which is Bethany by Laura Marks.
And the other one is Perish by Stella Thorne Ragsdale.
It'd be really nice if you could come and join us. It'll be nice to kind of see everyone, have some drinks, a bit more relaxed, and there'll be a nice kind of cabaret atmosphere.
Come and have a drink.
At the HighTide Festival this year, we're incredibly proud to be working with the University of East Anglia, Central School of Speech and Drama and the British Theatre Consortium on a day-long symposium called A Changing Tide, where we will be facilitating open conversation, workshops, advice sessions, keynote speeches, absolutely interrogating the new plays that are being produced in this country today, how they're produced, why they're produced, and where they're produced. We extend an invitation to anybody who's interested in new playmaking in the UK and would love for you to join us in having that conversation in the east of England and beyond through numerous online platforms.
And they wonder how they came here. They wonder how it could be, as they wander away to the Distaning Rug, the strangest place you can be, where the Distans oh listen, oh glisten, oh be, and white wings whistle to the twisters in the trees, and nothings are snowfields melting down behind the universe. The other side of other, where the river's fit to burst because the hop and the skip and the hip don't stop, when the dragon-hearted gig goes starbell flop and flips along to the song of the Madrigon, a rare teacher-preacher with fire feathers on, who lispers in the maze of the flippers in the cave, who turn it all around and praise it in the rave.
I I believe that theatre can change the way people think in the way that no other artistic medium can. I think you can really address things in private and public conscience that really the media comes nowhere near to touching, or journalism comes nowhere near to touching. I think it's so important, the telling of stories, in order to shift the way we think.